Hello, I'm John McCullagh, GI4BWM, President of the Radio Society of Great Britain. And today I'm speaking to you from the Steam Railway Museum in Swindon, the home of the legendary Great Western Railway. As my term as President comes to an end, I want to take this opportunity this year to highlight my own passions, share events I participated in, and emphasise the importance of the RSGB for every amateur. Since taking on this role in April 2023, my goal has been to guide the RSGB towards a strategic future. Our key priorities are growing amateur radio, increasing RSGB membership, managing spectrum and licensing, and maintaining financial stability. When I joined the board, strategy was somewhat overlooked, but now we've made it into a main focus, and I know that future leaders will continue this work. Significant progress has been made, and a number of work streams have been created to implement the priorities. I wish to extend my gratitude to those who have taken on leadership roles, especially in youth and outreach initiatives. These efforts are crucial in engaging with groups that we consider pivotal to the future of amateur radio and the society. I've always believed that if you spark an interest in someone when they're young, then you will get them for life. My own interest in things electronic began when I was about 8 years old. I became fascinated in tinkering with old radios and trying to get them working. This interest never left me and led to an amateur radio licence and eventually a career in professional communications engineering at a senior level. We must engage young people early in their education to light that spark of interest in amateur radio and STEM subjects, which will hopefully remain with them for good. As digital technology advances, RF engineers are becoming an increasingly rare resource. It's important to remind everyone that radio technology is integrated into so many of the devices we use today. We need more people to take this career path to ensure that the UK remains at the forefront of radio research and development. I've been leading a small team on what we're calling the mature audience segment. Our main efforts so far have been with the large U3A, University of the Third Age grouping, and we're working with our amateur radio advisor on a number of initiatives. We want to reach a wide range of new audiences, so we're speaking to other like-minded groups to make them aware of what amateur radio can offer people who have retired. As part of that project, we produce presentation materials which will enable RSGB volunteers to give talks explaining in non-jargon terms what we're all about. And now, why are we at the Great Western Railway? On the 1st of January 2025, Heritage Railways celebrated the 200th year of railways by taking part in a simultaneous whistle-up from locomotives at 1200 GMT. When that happened, I wonder if anyone considered that their ability to do this is owed to the history of electronic communications, which goes back to the dawn of the railway age. Before the establishment of the railway network, time differences existed between different parts of the country. They mattered little. People generally stayed close to their own areas, relied on local time, and didn't need to worry about the time differences that existed because of the world's rotation. This all changed when railways became joined up. When you consider that London time was 4 minutes earlier than Reading time, and 8 minutes before Bath and Bristol, it was impossible to have timetables. It was imperative to introduce a standard time throughout the country. So the concept of railway time was born, with clocks across the network being synchronised by the newly invented electric telegraph, with messages between stations being transmitted in a code invented by Samuel Morse. It is fashionable to think that digital transmission is something new. When you think about it, this is probably the first application of digital technology. Time was finally standardised in 1852 when the Royal Observatory at Greenwich transmitted accurate time signals throughout the country by electric telegraph, and so GMT was born. In 1865, the International Telecommunications Union was formed, dividing the world into 24 time zones, and here we are today, still using the same basic principles of timekeeping, although with much higher accuracy. The ITU remains the body that's responsible for developing communication standards to ensure we can all interchange information electronically, whether by radio or by other means. The ITU is especially important to amateur radio, as it allocates all radio spectrum on a global basis and convenes world radio conferences every 4 years to agree how this should be done. The International Amateur Radio Union was formed in 1925 to defend our spectrum against those who had realised that the shortwave bands that amateurs were using was a very valuable resource. As RSGB President, I'm head of delegation to the IARU. I've represented the Society at international conferences and meetings, together with several volunteers who've served the Society and the IARU well over the years. We continue to work tirelessly to protect our valuable allocations in the face of fierce competition from the commercial world. Perhaps this is reason enough to support the work of the Society. After all, without spectrum, there isn't any amateur radio. My own professional background is in the implementation of large radio systems and the management of spectrum that goes with it. I found this spectrum experience to be invaluable in my various RSGB roles, including my 12 years as chair of the ETCC and then as president. Having that depth of knowledge was vital as Murray, Stewart, Steve and I met with Ofcom and discussed its proposals on how the amateur licence could be modernised, and of course to propose some of our own changes too. The review of licensing has concluded, and I believe that most of the changes have been well received, perhaps with one notable exception, and with an eye on my call sign, I'm sure you can guess which one. The positive changes include the relaxation of rules to permit supervised operation by non-licensed individuals. This has provided many with a chance to get on the air and experience the thrill of operating. I know this is borne out by reports of many happy people leaving their RSGB National Radio Centre at Bletchley Park with smiles on their faces. We've been given more freedom to experiment by the removal of many frequency coordination requirements, combined with the incorporation of repeaters, beacons and gateways into the main licence. However, it has also meant a significant increase in the work of the ETCC members. The new freedoms have seen a 36% uplift in licensing activity over the last year, with a corresponding increase in frequency coordination and issue of assignment certificates. The changes to repeater operation have also given much needed flexibility in the deployment of temporary repeaters by RAINET UK. They provide vital communications to support medical and essential services, often in circumstances where other communication channels don't work. I must declare a special interest in RAINET UK activities as I am an active county controller in Northern Ireland. I've been in this role for quite a few years, but was greatly surprised when at the RAINET UK AGM in October I was awarded the Brian Tyndall Shield for my services to the organisation. As the UK's national society, we usually attend a few important events abroad so that we can keep in touch with other societies, find out what they're doing and welcome new people to RSGB membership. This year I was able to accompany our team to the Dayton Hamvention and to Friedrichshafen Ham Radio 2024. These are the showcase events for amateur radio in the US and Europe. It was great to meet like-minded people at all levels and exchange ideas on how our hobby can be taken forward. Attendance at these major events also allows us to talk to advertisers and influencers in the amateur radio world. We had many interviews with well-known YouTubers, our old friends from YCQ Podcast, and I was even interviewed by Dayton TV and radio stations. The radio interview was shared the first time with an estimated audience of over 36,000 and then aired multiple times. Steve Thomas, M1ACB, and I spoke to Josh from Ham Radio Crash Course, who did a live stream to his 346,000 YouTube subscribers. It was a great opportunity to reach a large audience with news about the RSGB. We recruit significant numbers of new members to the Society and renew many memberships at these events. It's obvious from conversations on the stand that our publications are held in high esteem throughout the worldwide amateur community, but we should always be seen as much more than a bookshop for amateur radio. When we were at Dayton, I was approached by a number of people who had visited the RSGB National Radio Centre while visiting the UK and who praised its facilities. Others came to the stand specifically to take out RSGB membership so that they could use the free entrance voucher when next in the UK. It is very clear to me that the National Radio Centre has a wide international appeal, and those international visitors are an important part of the 80,000 who visit the NRC each year. Free admittance to Bletchley Park is available to all members, which is yet another reason to join. "2024 marked the 60th anniversary of the founding of Islands on the Air, better known as IOTA. To celebrate this milestone, a gala dinner was held at Friedrichshafen, and I was honoured to be invited by Cesar V3LYC as their special guest. I had an unusual request in being asked to bring a small rock from Ireland to add to the collection of rocks from islands around the world, which is curated by the NCDXF North Carolina DX Foundation. The RSGB convention is an event I always enjoy. As part of the planning team, I also know it takes a tremendous effort to stage. My thanks go to Steve Thomas, M1ACB, our General Manager, Keith Hotchkiss, G0FEA, the Lecture Coordinator, Heather Parsons, M7OWS, our Communications Manager, Mark Olgar, M1MPA, the Commercial Manager, and all the others who put in so many late hours to ensure the event was a success. I had met Rafael Lukovici, EI6LA, when I was at the IRTS Gala Dinner in Galway last April, so he readily agreed to be our keynote speaker. He gave a very interesting and thought-provoking talk on the future of amateur radio education and licensing. We had a wide programme of lectures and an almost oversubscribed microcontroller programming workshop run by board member Mark Jones, G0MGX. This was another reminder that doing rather than watching is extremely popular. Offering events like this is a way to support radio amateurs to develop new skills, as well as being an increasingly important part of our outreach. I spent most of Sunday morning presenting trophies and awards to our contesting community. This was a great opportunity to meet with this enthusiastic band of people and see the passion that they have for this part of amateur radio. Due to pressure of his day job, Keith stepped down as lecture coordinator following the event. Keith came into the role 2 years ago and had worked as part of the team to source and coordinate topics and speakers. Steve had been convention chair for the past 3 years, alongside managing the society. I don't know how he managed to fit it all in, but the success of the convention is testament in itself. He stepped down at last year's convention so they could concentrate on leading the many other society activities that the General Manager has to lead in a changing environment. I thank them both for the huge amount of work they have put into the convention. Ours continues to be a great introduction to amateur radio to young people across the world. Kieran Morgan, M0XTD, is the RSGB RS Coordinator and also the RS Operations Lead for the UK. Together with a skilled team of AMSAT UK members, he led a number of very successful and exciting school contacts this year. The outstanding contact for me, and I expect many others, was in October at Brooklands Museum, when I had the honour to be in the welcoming party for Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Edinburgh. She was on her first official engagement as patron of the Girl Guides Association. It is difficult to portray the sheer excitement generated in the throng of excited girls as Kieran led the build-up to the actual contact. The Duchess exchanged greetings messages with Sunita Williams, KD5PLB aboard the space station, and then helped in shepherding others to the microphone to play their own part in this memorable event. Before Her Royal Highness left Brooklands, I introduced her to Stuart Bryant, G3YSX, our board chair, and to Alan Messenger, G0TLK, who had coordinated the day with the royal household. Following the excitement of the contact, the girls enjoyed a wide variety of amateur radio and STEM activities organised by RSGB staff, STEM ambassadors and volunteers. These included the construction and use of snail Morse keys, spell your name in Morse, the BBC microbit, scrolling displays, and the demonstration of a CubeSat simulator. Some members of Girl Guiding had asked, why are we going to do boy stuff? But rapidly changed their minds after taking part in the activities. The RSGB was at the forefront of organising this event, so I must thank all the RSGB volunteers and staff who were involved for their very hard work over many months. It was especially challenging as the contact took place in the weekend between the New York Hamfest and the RSGB convention. It was an exceedingly tight time frame, but everyone pulled out the stops and literally burned midnight oil to get it done. I'm very supportive of British Science Week, which is a celebration of science, technology, engineering and maths. It's a great vehicle to get schools and people of all ages involved in STEM and radio-related events. The RSGB is an official partner of British Science Week 2025, and fantastic to see us having an official amateur radio activity included in their community pack. In another fantastic development for this year, the RSGB outreach team has partnered with the Radio Communications Foundation to provide FM radio receiver kits for 15 schools, university, scout and youth groups to build. I was fortunate to get the opportunity to visit Marlborough Scout Group as they took part in building these kits, and you can see just how popular the activity was. This is more great outreach in action. What we hope is that the taste of today has given you a thought of what you might do in the future. Get into amateur radio or perhaps into a career in electronics.
CQ40, Golf Bravo 2, Mike.
The Scouts also enjoyed operating under supervision.
Mike Alpha Romeo calling CQ1.
As I said earlier, encouraging clubs, schools and universities to get young people on the air can spark their interest in amateur radio. Once they experience it, they often become very enthusiastic and go on to become fully fledged amateurs. The licensing review has made hands-on operating possible, as shown by the enjoyment during our Euro Month activities in December. I have found the past 2 years extremely busy but very rewarding as I worked together with the board and volunteers to get the society back on track and pointed in the right direction. I'm pleased to see that strategic work is no longer seen as something to pay lip service to, but something that's essential if the RSGB and amateur radio is going to thrive in the future. Outreach is the key to growth, and our structures need reviewing to ensure that we do have the right people in the right places. A great start has been made, and you'll hear much more about the progress from Mark Jones and Ben Lloyd in the presentations which will follow the formal part of the AGM. I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude to all who have been involved in this important work. I would also like to express my gratitude to the headquarters staff who provided assistance and guidance throughout my term. Despite being few in number, your dedication in completing tasks and overcoming numerous obstacles has been exceptional. In conclusion, as my time in office comes to an end, I wish Bob Beebe, GU4YOX, well as he becomes the 77th President of the Radio Society of Great Britain. At this time, I would normally hand over the chain of office to Bob, but this obviously cannot happen at a virtual AGM. Instead, it will be done at the National Rally at the Norbrack Castle Hotel in Blackpool. I look forward to seeing many of you there. To everyone else, it just remains for me to say thank you for all your support as I end my term as President.